Hey guys, Vinny here. It's a regular little human being, regular little guy. Just sending out a message of love and gratitude coming out to the new pond here. Thought I'd give you a little preview of what the new pond looks like. I got the old fish from my old house back over here, and so everybody is happy in their new environment. Really grateful I got the opportunity to be able to provide these guys with a home and to be able to come out here and have a situation like this at all, man, because as some of you know, man, a lot of my old friends and things like that, man, I've almost died a few times, because of my own behavior and even before that because of others' behavior and things like that. And so for me to sit here and to speak to you from this point of gratitude and love and compassion next to a waterfall that I got to build by hand, and provide these beautiful creatures a home to survive in. It brings me to like right now I'm engaged in writing an autobiography, and in that autobiography it's a very healing, therapeutic version of what I can do for myself, healing, and then as I share, I help so many people, and that's why I got to get out to you, man. There's so many people that have reached out and communicated that the things that I communicate to them have helped them, right? That it's kind of driven me to keep going. And so when I went through a process of a spiritual process of cleansing my soul, and part of this process was a lot of work, man. I mean, I literally have books and notebooks of pages just filled with spiritual work, and part of that is what I had to do was part of the process is what I had to do was a very difficult, fearless, moral and searching inventory of myself. And what that looked like was I had to write down all of the people, places, and principles that I had resentments against, and that held resentments against me. And I listed every single one of them for my whole life. And I've caused a lot of hurt, and a lot of hurt has been caused in my life. And so that was very difficult for me to do. And so that's what they mean by a fearless, moral, and searching inventory. And so I went through all of these names, man, all of these principles and all of these places, and I wrote them all down. And then next to each one of these things, what I did is I wrote down and described the situation, what had happened, you know what I mean? And besides that, in the next column, besides, I'm just basically describing to you a process that some of you already understand and have been through, and this is kind of what it looks like. And then next to that, in the same resentment, after I would write down what happened and what it did was I would write down what it affected. Did it affect my emotional security, my financial security? Did it affect my ego, any of my fears, my sexual security, any of the stuff? I mean, fearless, moral, and searching inventory. And I figured out what it affected, right? And besides that, I wrote, what could I have done differently in this situation, right? And so for each and every one of those, and I mean, it's like a solid notebook and a half, those little comp books that we have, the black and white ones, right? Solid comp and a half, right? Full of all of this stuff, so that I could actually take a look at my patterns and behaviors, right? And figure out before it even happened. And as I got to know myself, as I went through the process of living in amends later on through this process, what ended up happening was I was able to see my patterns and behaviors before. I saw situations before it would even happen, before they started to develop, and I would cut them off at the pass before I would even get invested and get in trouble for them. And then lo and behold, what do you know? I stopped getting in trouble. And then lo and behold, after that, people started to take notice. And after people started to take notice, that's when I learned how to start to speak. And I initially learned how to, because I'm a very shy individual, right? But that changed a lot. That changed a lot because of recovery. Because I learned how to speak in front of a large group. And what that did is that took me to all kinds of different places. Like I ended up doing a bunch of public speaking outside of recovery, for like government agencies. What I did is I've done a whole house meeting for DCSS here in Sacramento, and that's child support. And above that, in the same structure, I've spoken at policy symposiums behind the senator, and for the Department of Child Support here in California. And what I did was I was able to speak to all of the directors and some California directors and some federal people about, you know, child support coming from a non-custodial parent, and what we have to go through, and basically giving us a voice in what's going on as far as policy goes and child support. And so I've been blessed, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to learn how to communicate on small and large levels, and video and things like that, and writing. And so as I write this autobiography, I go through this particular process. And one of the things that I learned, one of my University of Pacific professors in business law taught me in my business law class, was that in a contract, when you're under a state of duress, any party that signs that contract under a state of duress, it's a non-binding contract. It's void and null. It doesn't mean anything, right? And so when I really looked at my behavior and my life, I was pretty much high most of my life. I was pretty much under some type of psychological trauma or duress that was affecting the way that I thought. And so every decision that I made before I had gotten clean, I pretty much like could look at it and go, well, most of that stuff's null and void. Man, I would have never made any of these decisions because I was under a state of duress. And so I started looking at my life in a different manner. And I started at re-inventorying my life. I started really looking at the years that had gone past and started looking at them in a different manner. Like, how would I do them differently now? And that's where we're at. So, with that being said, man, what I will say is that if you would like to go through a process like this, that's kind of what it looks like, man. I went to a celebration of life earlier. It was a friend of mine that I've known for a while. He went too early, and the disease of addiction took him out. And it's not the first one this year, and I don't expect it to be the last one. You know, it's still early. You still have a couple months left, and that's the disease of addiction, man. And if you're alive and you're sucking air right now, and you made it out of that hellhole, welcome home. And with that, have a great day.